Hello again everyone, Jeff Pirishad here with another bowling ball review video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new MOTIV Desert Tank, which is the newest entry in MOTIV's microcell polymer line. But before we get into the ball, this is going to be a bit of a test run, as I'm giving a whirl at incorporating Kegel's SPECTO into my videos. You may have heard of Kegel. They operate a world-class training center, plus make lane machines, oil, and other lane and ball maintenance products. They recently developed SPECTO, which is a sensor on the lane that can give immediate feedback to the bowler for ball speed, location, rev rate, and more, and compiles all these statistics into charts and graphs that bowlers can use to improve their game. I'm going to be using SPECTO later in this video. Please do me a favor, drop a comment below to let me know if you like it. And if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see from SPECTO in my videos going forward, feel free to leave those as well. On to the Desert Tank. The Desert Tank follows the Covert Tank and Tank Blitz in the microcell polymer category. The Desert Tank is also the first Pearl microcell polymer ball, which I've started calling microcell Pearlimer because yeah, I'm that guy. The Desert Tank has a high RG of 2.57, which will help prevent it from hooking early, and a low differential of 0.015 to minimize track flare. These combined make the Desert Tank a great choice for lighter oil patterns, short sport and PBA patterns, and also a great choice for playing straighter angles when the back ends are uncontrollably snappy. This is where I'd normally let you know the layout on the ball, but with the core this week it honestly don't matter. Just use your favorite strong layout on it to give it a little track flare and kick. Mine has the pin above my ring finger, which is roughly about 4 inches from my axis. I'm bowling today on 2 lane patterns. The first is a lighter oil house shot, and later on we'll be bowling on a sport condition. The Desert Tank is intended to help bowlers combat lighter oil conditions. It's not a very big hooking ball, which is perfect for when the lanes dry up or if you're bowling on lane conditions that require accuracy rather than power. The core in the Desert Tank is the same flux core that MOTIV used in the Thrill. Because this core doesn't flare very much, it stays online longer and shouldn't do anything unpredictable on the back end. The microcell polymer cover on both the Covert Tank and the Tank Blitz were designed to give a very round shape on the lane. They give the shape of those older urethane balls from like back in the 1980s, but with much more continuation. The Pearl microcell Pearlimer gives you that same predictable smooth look and more continuation than even today's urethane balls, just like both the Covert Tank and the Tank Blitz, but with a bit more length and a little more of the hook saved for the back end. What types of bowlers do I think would benefit from the Desert Tank? First, anyone that bowls on PBA patterns that are short, like Cheetah or Wolf, or other competitive lane conditions where you need earlier and less hook than reactive balls, but want something more continuous than urethane. But what about other bowlers? If you're a league bowler that struggles with over-under, where it feels like the lane hooks too uncontrollably near the gutter, but also too little if you miss a little inside, the Desert Tank will allow you to get right up against the drier outsides and will manage at higher friction better than reactive balls will. Higher speed bowlers might also like how they can navigate those same drier parts of the lane, while still getting their ball to hook rather than run out of gas like urethane often does. Also, I think the Desert Tank would be a great first bowling ball for someone new to the sport, and a great all-purpose ball for a casual level bowler. Let's take a look at the SPECTO results. I took 5 shots and SPECTO compiled them into this chart, which shows the average of those shots. You can see the Desert Tank had about 20 boards of total hook, which is the amount of boards the ball covered combined from release to the break point, plus from the break point to the pins. This was on the house shot. So how does that compare to other balls in the MOTIV line? Let's take a look at a few shots first, and then we'll move over to the sport condition lane for a more in-depth look using SPECTO. First, let's look at the Tank Blitz. As I said, this is a lighter oil house shot, so as expected, the Tank Blitz reacted to the pattern much too early, even with moving a bit left before even throwing a shot. I had to make a much bigger move left with the Blitz to get it to the pocket. You will notice, however, that the ball motion is the same smooth hook on both tanks. If there's a lot of head mid-lane oil, you might want to use the Tank Blitz. If the volume is lighter, or if you would rather play more right, the Desert Tank may be a more appropriate choice. Compare those to the Covert Tank, which fits right in between the Desert Tank and the Tank Blitz. All 3 tanks have the same smooth ball motion and great continuation because of the microcell polymer cover, but in varying amounts of hook, so you can pick which one fits your game and the pattern you are bowling on the best. And lastly, the MOTIV Venom Shock, which gives you more length and a sharper back end, as you would expect from a reactive ball. As bowlers, it's up to us to decide how much priority to put on hitting power versus how much priority to put on control. Often you have to sacrifice one for the other. If control's at a premium, a microcell polymer ball will often fit the bill perfectly, and if it's a lighter oil pattern, take a look at the desert tank to fill that need. Now let's move over to the sport condition lane and use Specto to compare. This is a 43-foot pattern with very snappy back ends. Because of that, microcell polymer balls will be great to control that reaction. For the Specto evaluation, I threw 5 shots with each ball, but to keep this brief, I'm just going to show 1 shot with each to give an idea of the angle I played. Then I'll post one of the many evaluation charts that Specto came up with so you can see the differences. Also, in case you're curious, Specto doesn't let you just delete bad shots or cherry pick which shots you want to use. That's why it's a good snapshot of how balls react for you. So let's start with the desert tank. You can see I'm around the 3rd arrow and the desert tank managed the back ends very well, giving me maximum control but still continuing through the pin deck. To see a summary of my 5 shots, let's take a look at the right column on this chart. Starting at the bottom, I laid the ball down on the 22 board, just left of the middle dot, and the ball hit the 3rd arrow, the 15 board, pretty much dead on. The break point was on the 7 board, 43 feet down the lane, and entered the pocket at the 14.6 board on average. So how much total hook is that? The ball started at 22.2 and the break point was on 7. That means it covered 15.2 boards on the way out, and then because it entered the pocket on the 14.6 board, it covered 7.6 boards back on the way in, which is a total hook on this pattern of 22.8 boards. Here's the detailed results of the 5 shots I threw. If you'd like the time to look at it more carefully, just pause the video here. Next, the tank blitz. As expected, because the tank blitz is much more ball, I had to move more left, and I also had to make sure I got the ball right enough because I knew it would hook back more. You can see from the chart that my ball crossed 18.6 at the arrows on average, and was at 6 at the break point rather than 7. It also hooked back much more, entering the pocket on average at the 17 board. The total hook was a whopping 33.1 boards, almost 11 boards more than the desert tank. Again, here's the detail of the 5 shots I threw. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to look at it more carefully. Third, the covert tank. With the covert tank, I ended up standing in around the same place and had a similar laydown point, but I didn't feel the need to project the ball to the right as much. You can see that reflected on the chart in that the laydown point was the same for both the blitz and the covert, but the covert was over a half a board left of the blitz at the arrows. Similarly, while the break point for the blitz was on the 6th board on average, the covert was also a half a board left of that. Also, note how the covert entered the pocket on average much further right than the blitz. It's a mellower ball than the blitz, and that's reflected in the results of 28.7 total boards covered. Finally, the Venom Shock. With this reactive ball, I had to start my feet even further left to get enough projection right to prevent the ball from hooking too much on the back end, because of how fast the back end was reacting. If you didn't get the ball right enough, it would hook much too early and come up high or cross over. My average laydown point was on the 30.6 board and crossed the middle arrow with 34.5 boards of total hook. Again, here's the results of the 5 shots I threw, and you can pause the video to take a closer look. So that's my review of the desert tank and Specto comparisons to other balls in the MOTIV line. Please leave me any comments below on what you liked and didn't like about it. I already have some ideas on how to improve using Specto for my videos going forward. Thank you to MOTIV Bowling and to Carlos Tabon at the Kegel Connection Pro Shop here in South Florida. If you're in the area and want to use Specto yourself, just contact Carlos and he can help arrange it for you. Until next time.